Heyo, Salamander MN here, and this is my run in the Naughty Racing League Finals at Spa on the 24-hour layout. At the start of this race, I was sitting fourth in the points, really looking forward to this. I'd put in a lot of practice and felt that I had good pace and a decent strategy. But with the almost certainty of rain, I knew that anything could happen. With that said, this race did not go as planned. At the start of the race here, everybody around me is on softs, and I'm running the mediums, so I get a little bit of a bad start right off the line. I lose 2 spots immediately to Slipstream and Blind Man, but settle in behind them, getting through Eau Rouge. At this point, we head down the long straight. We get to the end, and I think Blind Man gets on the brakes a little early, and I tap him, which I back out a little bit to make sure he gets in front of me. But that makes me lose another spot. Coming to the next corner, I'm side by side with Talon, and while trying to hold him off, I didn't realize that Shaggy was able to dive into the opening I left and claim another spot on me. Now after this, going into the fast double left-hander, I end up going wide because of the cold tires, and off into the green stuff, I end up losing 5 more positions. Now, at this point, we're only halfway through the first lap, and I've already gone from a starting position of 4th down to 13th. And the only person still behind me is MD Hop, who it turns out had sustained some rear end damage early on due to a glitch in the game. At this point, I start telling myself that there's a lot of race left to go. It's a 1-hour endurance race after all, so I have plenty of time to make a recovery and finish in the money. The top 7 finishing positions win a cash prize, so at this point, that's my goal. I'm on the medium tires, and I know I can make those last until the rain gets here, whereas I'm not so sure those running on the softs can do that. So I could potentially have a pit stop advantage, and with how long it takes on pit road here at the Spa 24-hour layout, that could be huge. Finish off the first lap here, and we can see I'm already 11.4 seconds back, so definitely have some time I need to make up. Now, I've been able to stay relatively close to Jesser, so coming through Eau Rouge and onto the long straight, I know I can get into his slipstream and maybe get a little bit of time back. And that slipstream is strong here with these F1500 cars, so I was able to get a clean pass around him, carry on from there, back up to 12th position. Coming out of this fast right-hander, leading onto the backstretch, Deputy Fishtail had got himself off the side and lost a lot of momentum. I was able to get up beside him, but then ended up taking myself off that little kink at the end and lost the momentum. So coming into the chicane here, still following, trying to see if I can find a way back up into the pack. Down across the start finish line and into this tight right-hander. I get a halfway decent run out of there, and I know now I'm solidly in eating Fishtail's slipstream coming up to Eau Rouge. I make sure to back off because trying to go through there double wide is a bad idea. With that, then I got the slipstream to get around him here as we finish off this straight. As we come into this chicane here, again, I was able to make that pass clean. I was able to stick it, carry on. As we get to the end of lap 4 here, I've been able to get myself settled into a groove and make those medium tires start to work. I ended up putting in a lap in the low 153s. It's good pace for the mediums. I'm pretty happy I've got pace going and just need to keep this up for a while. I may be able to pick up a couple of spots before the first round of pits this weekend. Again, coming into Eau Rouge, I've got Shaggy in front of me, and if I can stay with him, I'll pick up that slipstream and maybe I can shoot around him. As we approach the corners, we see I've been able to set a purple second, but not quite close enough to go for a move yet. I'm trying to be patient and wait for the right opportunity. Now, Shaggy's on the softs at this point, which I didn't know at the time, but I clearly have a quicker pace going. Going into the fast double left-hander, I take a peek, thinking maybe I could go up the inside, but then thought that wouldn't be a good idea. So I backed out and Shaggy stays ahead. As we get started on the next lap, again I get a good run coming out of turn 1. I get myself up alongside Shaggy and he smartly backs out of it going into Eau Rouge, seeing as I had the run on him. He let me get ahead at that point. Now I was worried on the long straight that Shaggy would be able to tuck in behind me and get the spot back, seeing as how I got it so soon, but thankfully I was able to keep the spot. Going through the next set of corners, I was able to extend that gap a bit and start concentrating on lap times again. Near the back half of lap 7, I got myself into a groove and putting in fast laps. But coming into this right-hander, my finger got a bit twitchy and I downshifted too much, which sent my car into an immediate spin. I ended up dropping tooths that I now have to fight for again. After the early incidents, beginning to get frustrated, feeling the race just get away from me. And it's still early on. It's already starting to feel like this is just not my day. By the beginning of the next lap, I've already gotten caught back up with Shaggy and Deputy Fishtail. I end up having to follow Shaggy for a bit, biding my time until the opportunity presents itself for a clean pass. Deputy Fishtail has already kind of gotten away from us. By going into the fast double left-hander, Shaggy leaves me the space, but I just don't have the confidence to make the move right away. But Shaggy ends up staying wide. Coming out of the turn, I'm able to get the pass done. Finishing up lap 9, I end up making another big costly mistake. I'm back underway and at full speed, now 49 seconds behind the leader. At the end of lap 12, it's time to come into the pits. Now, before the race began, I'd taken a look at the weather settings, and it was supposed to be rain 01 starting after the 13-minute mark. And we did see some sprinkles on the radar. It's supposed to be rain 06, so I'm thinking the rain has got to be just outside the range of the radar. I'm really conflicted over whether to go with the intermediate, so I'm prepared for when the rain gets here, or whether to go on another set of mediums like I had originally planned. With the mistakes I'd made thus far, I decide I have to chance it, and hope I get one less pit stop by getting the jump start on the rain. That ended up being the winning strategy in the last race, and I didn't want to make the same mistake twice by missing it. Fast forward 4 laps, and the rain never came. I completely burned up my intermediates, and I had to come in early for another set of tires. With less than half the race remaining, I take on softs to turn in some really fast laps and hope that some of my competitors make some critical mistakes. Lap 19, and I set my second minute 51 in a row. And then lap 20, I set the fastest lap of the race thus far with a 1 minute 50.854, but I'm 2 minutes behind the leader. It's a small moral victory for a couple laps until Slipstream takes the fastest lap back from me. Coming into the final lap of the race, I set my fastest lap with a 1 minute 50.486. This was one of the most incredibly frustrating races I think I've ever run. So for the final turn, I can't help but bang my head against the wall a few times before crossing the finish line. I will say this, Season 3 of the NRL was a fun one. We had some great combos, and I certainly got better as a driver, besides the self-destruction in the finals. I'm really looking forward to Season 4. We'll see you guys then.